What's up, y'all? We are going to jump back in with a video on a new way to create solids in Onshape, and this is the sweep tool. So ready yourself. Make sure you're strapped into your chairs. Wouldn't want you to fall out. Here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to do just a random kind of show you what sweep is, a little demonstration, and then I will and then from there we'll actually draw something. So I'm going to draw first. So basically what sweep is, the basic rundown, is create a sketch in the top plane. You choose a path, and then like some sort of a line or curve, and at the end of that curve you get to draw a shape, and then you get to run that shape down the curve or down the path, and that is what creates the solid. And that can be curved, it can be straight. It's really, really exciting. It's almost like if you could extrude, but extrude along a path. So that's what you're doing. Basically extruding, instead of a straight line, you're extruding around curves. Super. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to draw just a random line length here. We'll go with like, hey, that actually looks just fine. Okay, next I'm going to use a construction line, and we are going to draw a line that's like 2 inches long. Looks pretty good. Okay, the reason I'm drawing a line, a construction line here that's 2 inches long, is I'm going to use this line to draw a circle. I'm going to snap to the midpoint. And I'm going to trim off this inner half of that circle. So what that has done is it's created this perfect path that starts from the origin, and it comes out this direction, travels around, and then what I'm going to actually do is the sweep tool can actually, when it comes around this corner, can actually change the planes that it's in, which is kind of exciting. So I'll finish my sketch, and I'm going to create a new sketch in a different plane, because this is on multiple planes, right? It could be on multiple. I'm going to draw it in a plane that is parallel to the front plane. So what I'll do is create a new plane here, offset from the front plane, and we're going to choose our direction. I'm going to be switching it back this direction. And I know the reason I drew that construction line is so I know exactly how far to move my plane. I want to move it 2 inches. Okay, now you can see that plane is passing right through that point, and that to me is exciting. So I got my plane, I got this plane that I drew my, that's the one, I was using the front as a guide to create plane 1. But it's traveling around, and that point is right lying on that plane, which is exciting. I'm now going to click on this plane. We'll create a sketch, and I'm going to use the spline tool. Man, that's fun to say. We'll come up like this, do a little bit of a curvy, and maybe kind of level it out. That is just fun. Click the Sistine Chapel. Like it's reaching. Okay. Finish sketch. All right. The setup is done. The bump and the set are in place. Now it's time for the spike. So now we're going to create the solid, and this is where we do some CAD magic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane, and this plane is going to be, we're going to use this last option, curve point. And for the curve point, you select a point and select a curve, and what it does is it will create a plane that is normal to that curve at that point. So what normal means, the best way to describe it for me is like if the plane was a spinning plate. If you were spinning a plate on your finger, your finger is normal to the bottom of the plate. So it creates a plane that's like a spinning plate at the end of the curve. And it doesn't have to be a straight line. It can be something that's curved, like we could have done this point or something. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and create a sketch. Oh, we got to create the plane first. Okay, it's created. Create a sketch. And we get to choose a shape. We could use any shape that we want to sweep along this path. I'm going to do something that you can't do with extrude. I guess you couldn't really extrude a rectangle here either. You could partially. I'll just make it weird. We'll do a hexagon or something. So I'm going to stretch this baby up like that. We'll do 6 sides. That's fine. Now look at this. We have got a hexagon drawn normal to this curve. Now it's time to sweep. Now I get to press the sweep option. We're going to click the profile, and we get to choose a path. Sweep path. Click. Click here. And there. Look at it. Oh, traveling around. Isn't this exciting? Look at that beautiful path. Okay, so we've got our plane drawn. So we've got this really crazy shape that otherwise we would not really be able to make with, or make accurately with like any other loft, extrude, whatever. Sweep's a really cool, a cool way to create kind of anything that is stretched or extruded around a corner. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. All right. Record all these after teaching a full day, so I'm usually a little pooped. Brain dead, if you haven't noticed. Okay, great. So where can you go wrong with sweeps? You got a couple problems that can arise where the sweep won't work. The two biggies are, it's really the same reason, but they're kind of two different, avoidable for two reasons. So if you make your corners too tight, or they're like, you definitely can't do it around like a bent corner. It has to be a smooth corner and it has to be gradual. If it's really tight like that, then what happens is that profile kind of intersects with itself as it's traveling around a really tight corner. So that's not going to work. The sweep will not generate. The other issue is if your profile is too big. So if I were to click on my sweep, or sorry, click on my sketch and change the size of my hexagon, which I could, right? I could click in here, grab yonder dimension tool, if I wanted to change the size of my hexagon, I could go like 0.6, enter. We'll see if this sweeps. Whoa, it did. Oh my gosh. It's getting real close. So that one's a little funky, but if I made it any bigger, it would probably run into some issues. So if you make things too big, it's going to cause a problem. All right, I'm going to switch that back. That's making me uncomfortable. 0.3. All right, then we have our cool sweep back again. All right. All right, so now let's see our challenge. What's our challenge? What are we trying to draw here, Slagle? I am going to draw a pretzel. You are going to draw this pitcher, vase, vase, whatever you want to call it. Okay, you will need to have this little lip. Your pitcher does need to be hollow, and you need to have a swept handle. So you need to use a sweep tool to create this handle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back into my Onshape. We're going to create a new document. We're going to draw a pretzel. Hey, look, I've already drawn a couple. Look at that. It's pretzel time, folks. So the techniques for making a pretzel. I'm going to create a sketch on this top plane. I'm going to kind of talk about the strategy. Why did I have to choose food? I'm just always hungry, I think. Okay, so the strategy for the pretzel is, since pretzels are symmetric, you should never do more work than you have to. Pretzels are symmetric, so I'm not going to draw the whole pretzel because it's going to be a disaster to try and make, you know, both sides even if I'm hand drawing from scratch. So rather than that, I'm going to draw half, and then I'm going to use the mirror option to create a copy on the other side. All right, so I'm gonna create my path, this kind of loop-de, and then it's gonna come around this way, and then I'm gonna mirror that solid once I'm done. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Have a grand old time. I'm gonna start with a spline. Ooh, it wants to attach right here, so I'll come up like that, kind of generate the key points for my pretzel. That looks pretty good. All right, we got our pretzel. If you wanna, you know, click and drag, whoops. If you wanna click and drag these into different locations, you absolutely can. So if you wanna say like, the shape's a little bit off, let me just stretch this out a smidge and make this a little rounder. It's a great thing to do, and that can work very, very well. I'm going to try and make this a little more, well, that looks pretty good. I want to try and bend this down a little bit so the angle that it's, yeah, there we go, that's looking good. All right, so we got this basic shape here, which I think is pretty exciting. What we're going to do is I'm going to finish my sketch. Now, we run into an issue. You may have asked, hey, why didn't you extend it all the way? Why not extend it all the way to the other side of the pretzel? So why not connect this line here? And the reason is, so we can kind of do that. The problem is, whoops, the sweep ends up intersecting with itself, and when it intersects with itself, it doesn't actually generate. So I'll show you that, and I'll show you how it kind of corrects that problem. So we'll hide the top plane. We're going to finish our sketch, which we've done. It'll look like this. We've got this cool looking curve, and I'm going to create my plane that I can draw my profile on. So I'm going to come down here, click my point and my curve, press OK. There we have our plane connected to that end. And so what we're able to do is we are able to sweep a profile. I'm going to be sweeping a circle, so I'm going to create a sketch, grab the old circle tool, and I want to be consistent with what I'm drawing. So I'll make the thickness of my pretzel maybe like 0.65 inches. It's going to be a nice, I guess that's fairly, I think they're usually about an inch. A little thin, that's all right. Dainty pretzel, that's okay. So I got my pretzel here. I'm gonna be sweeping that throughout that shape. Grab my sweep tool, sweep it along the path. Now watch what happens. Grabbing the sweep path, it goes to there, but then when I try and select this other line, it says, not allowed. Okay, so that's a problem. So what you end up doing is you have to kind of use a different tool to do that extra extension. So I'm just going to sweep to here, and then what I'll do is extrude. Just use the extrude to create kind of a, you could do a separate sweep there. I think the extrude tool is the easiest way. You can extend that through, and it's not going to have a problem there. You might need to do a separate sweep if it's self-intersecting. And press OK. So now we have half of our pretzel drawn. It's looking beautiful. Now we just need to create the other half of that pretzel. And what you can do here is just use the mirror option. I'm going to select the pretzel. In my mirror plane, you can either select this circle or the plane that we've already drawn. They're in the same plane. And that's going to create the opposite side of my pretzel. Isn't that fun? Look at that. Beautiful, nice looking pretzel that we've drawn using sweep. This would be very hard to do with other tools. So the sweep tool is good for any sort of curvy shape like that. There are other options in our sweep that can create kind of interesting shapes. So one of them is like, as it's being swept, you can keep it so the shape doesn't turn. I don't know if it'll let us generate. I don't think it's gonna let us generate that. Keep profile orientation. Yeah, it kind of closes in on itself, so it didn't really like that. But that keeps the circle facing the same direction the whole time, and that can work on some sweeps. But on this one, we want the shape to kind of follow that path and turn. There it is. Beautiful. Hey, that's it. What I want you guys to do is I want you to draw this here picture, and I'm going to give you a little guidance on the best strategy, I think, to be able to do that. So just a second, I got to pull up the program. All right, so if you want to try this on your own, don't watch this part. See if you can figure out how to draw the picture on your own. I know it's so tempting when you have Mr. Slagle here helping you, but even then it's going to be a little challenging. So the best method for drawing this picture is first you kind of create the thing that you're going to revolve, and it needs to have a thickness. So you're going to create kind of this shape like this. You're going to grab the revolve tool and you're going to spin it. Okay, so it's going to create this full-size picture, but you'll notice the top of that picture is going to be straight across, and that's a problem. So then what you're going to do is at that top cross section, we kind of draw that. If I'm just looking from the side, whoops, that's not straight. If I'm just looking from the side of my picture like this, and this is what I see, I'm going to create a sketch in the whatever the front or the right plane, whichever one you selected. That's the plane that's cutting this down the middle, right? Because you should be spinning it kind of around. You have a plane that's slicing it down the middle. You're going to create a sketch on there, and what that sketch is going to look like is it's going to give the picture, you're going to kind of make a shape that looks like this. You're kind of circling that out, and actually it looks a little bent. So it's going to be more like this. So you're going to kind of use an arc or something to circle that, and what you're going to do is use extrude, and the extrude is going to cut away that, and what it's going to leave you is it's going to leave you with that desired slant that you're looking for. So if I'm kind of drawing this from an angle, it would look like your picture is going to look like this. It's going to look hollow, but it'll have kind of that nice slanty look that you're looking for. Okay, so here's I know my drawing skills are not great. And then for the sweep, you're going to create a sketch in that same plane, but it's just going to be like a spline, and that spline is going to come down like this. It's going to come to the bottom, and then it should be S-shaped. It should have both of those bends. I'm looking for both of those bends. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you'll create a plane that's right here at the end of this point. You're going to draw your circle or an ellipse. I think an ellipse is actually easier. So I would make it actually like kind of stretched out like this. Ellipse is just basically another word for an oval, is a shape that you may have heard, and then you're going to sweep that along the path to create the handle. Please be mindful that the handle is actually connected to your picture. Don't draw your sweep. Don't draw your guide path further away from the picture than the radius of your circle that you're drawing, or else it won't be connected, and we want it to be connected. Okay, there's a hint for hopefully how you could get started with drawing your picture. Hope that was helpful, and I hope you liked the video. See you next time.